Hello everybody, and welcome to the very promised video where I share with you about the insanely weird phone call that I received. I definitely had to take time to kind of integrate what happened, and I also wanted to see what would happen. Like, this will all make sense. I'm going to explain everything. And now I am even more certain that what happened was not normal in any way, shape, or form. So my intention in sharing this video is to educate other people that maybe, if something like this, if you ever hear anybody talk about anything like this, or, God forbid, anything like this happens to you, you'll have a reference point to understand maybe what that was. Because I know I certainly didn't. So let's start from the beginning. I will say that this is kind of embarrassing for me to share some of this, just because I feel like I did things that I wouldn't normally do. So basically, on New Year's Day, I got a phone call from an unknown number, and I don't normally answer numbers that I don't know, but I actually have a friend whose number sometimes shows up like that, so I thought maybe it was my friend, so I answered it. And everything happened so fast, but it was a 75-minute call. And during those 75 minutes, I was very scrambled and fragmented. After the call, I couldn't even really put a sentence together for several hours. I was having a really hard time even speaking, because I was so scrambled by what had just happened and so confused and very disoriented. That it was hard for me to even explain what just happened. So I get this call, and it's this guy, this very charismatic, intelligent guy, who says, you're an SEP, you're a somatic practitioner. And I was like, yeah. He goes, okay, so I am with, and then he stated the name of the company, which I do have the website for, and I do plan on reaching out to them to see if they actually have a study that's going on like this, and to try to verify what happened. But so he says, yeah, I am part of gathering research for a trauma healing modality that we're trying to get, basically they're getting lots of funding to get research to then, because in order for something to get pushed through to the general public or to be used by psychologists and psychiatrists, any kind of new modality has to have a lot of research in order to show and prove that this method is effective. And so, I'm like, okay, interesting. And he started off by kind of playing on my ego, well, how long have you been practicing SE for? And I said, well, it was a 3-year certification, but just last year. And he was like, wow, that's really incredible. Because I said, so how did you find me? And he said, a woman named Karen Brooks had a client of mine who said I was a great somatic practitioner, and so she recommended me. Didn't get the name of the client, and I don't know anybody named Karen Brooks that I'm aware of. So, he just kind of is stroking my ego and saying, wow, you must be really amazing to have been, referred for this, only practicing for such a short time. And, he didn't really give me, basically what happened was I agreed to be a part of this study. So it's a paid study where you get $3,500 for about 5 or 6 months of, where you're reporting or you're being a part of the research for about 5 or 6 months until May. And he didn't, he completely misled me, which is not what you do in a research study. But I don't have any experience with that. So when I was telling this to my friend, who's a social worker that actually had to go through things like real research, she was like, that's not how it is. Like, you're transparent with the subjects from the beginning about exactly what the study is, exactly what they're required to do. You have to get, paperwork for them to actually sign. And if it's a paid study, they have to have your bank information to be able to give you the money. So he says it's $3,500 for about 6 months. And really all it is it's just 10 minutes. It's just a little 10-minute exercise every day. And so I was like, well, that doesn't sound so bad, and I was like, okay. Well, I didn't realize that when I said yes to being a part of this study, that it was going to be starting now, like right now on the phone with this person. And I was like really not feeling good that day. I was not, physically, I didn't feel well. I was already in a compromised state, not having had enough sleep, not having had enough food. And I literally feel like I went into a fawn response. I feel like I went into like an altered state of consciousness. It was the way that he was speaking to me. Like, some of the time he was very like kind and, kind of stroking my ego. And then other moments throughout the call, he was very like abrupt and kind of aggressive. And that is kind of a hallmark of like trying to create a trauma bond. We know that, if you take puppies and or even a human being, and they've done studies on this, and you treat them well all of the time versus bad all of the time versus intermittently, meaning sometimes you treat them well and sometimes you treat them poorly, that creates an anxiety within the nervous system that actually caused the dogs in this case to be like so attached to the researcher, which is not what they thought would happen. Oh, John says, what is a fawn? Fawning, like FAWN, the fawn response. It's, there's fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. Fawning is typically one of the first things that we will do. This is like kind of Stockholm syndrome. Like we'll try to, that's the far end of it, but we'll try to please the person. We'll try to like appease them as a way of staying safe. And I definitely felt myself moving into that. I don't know what the fuck happened, you guys, but I agree to be in this study, and he like starts this process, and he's like, okay, so the thing is, he was so intelligent, like he was describing all the science behind this stuff. And even though there was something in the back of my head that was like, this isn't right, something feels really off about this, I don't know. So basically, here's what happened. I find myself in front of the mirror, and he's having me describe my belly button. This is how it starts. And so I'm like describing, the shape of it. He's like having me put my finger in my belly button. Does it go, to your nail bed halfway? And as I'm describing what my belly button structure is, and he's like, oh wow, like that's so rare. That's so, only this percentile of the population has this type of belly button, and here's what it means about the fascial myo, whatever structure, and then he was having me describe if there was any hair on my stomach. And so I'm like, yeah, like I do. I have like I have like some light hair underneath my belly button. And, he was like having me describe the pattern of it, and like, is it like, how close together are the hairs? And then at one point, I was like, well, like, it's a decent amount, like, and he was like, oh no, like, that's great. There's nothing for you to be self-conscious about. Hair is beautiful. And I was like, thinking to myself, like, that seems really unprofessional. Like, why is this person making personal comments about, like, I'm not insecure about that. I don't have a problem with that. And I certainly don't need you to tell me that it's cool that I have some hair on my stomach. Like, I don't like that. So, okay. So like that little tiny, little tiny red flag going off. But like I said, you guys, I literally felt like I was in a hypnagogic state. Like, have you ever seen those, I remember seeing it a while ago, it was like this crime show or whatever, where they would like blow dust in someone's face, like this particular chemical, and the person would just start giving them their credit card information. They were lucid, they were aware of what they were doing, but they were not able to stop. That's how I felt. So it gets worse. I do that, and then I come away from the mirror, and then he starts this process of, okay, I'm gonna walk you through these exercises. And he had me pull my shirt up so that my belly button was exposed, but I wasn't on video with him or anything. This was just a phone call. He's like, okay, so lie on your back and like pull your shirt up and make sure that your belly button's exposed. Like, it has to be exposed because of the chi. Because this whole process I'm about to tell you about is apparently, the chi, which from a spiritual perspective, I'm so disturbed because, the belly button, what is the belly button, you guys? Like, what is that connected to? That's literally your astral cord. Like, this is where your etheric cording comes in. If anybody is like, yeah, leave it open so that when you do this sneezing and this, because we're getting to the sneezing part, which you're going to be like, what the fuck? But it's hard to tell this story because there's so many different pieces. Okay, so I'm laying down. No, before I lay down, he goes, okay, so I want you have a broom in your house, right? Like, I want you to get a bristle from the broom and cut it off. But it has to be an acrylic, like, it has to be like a fake broom, not like a real broom that has like those, hay or whatever, like the ones that have the acrylic bristles. And so I'm like cutting, I'm like cutting this thing off. He's like, cut it the length of your index finger. And at the time I didn't have running water. And he's like, just like wash it, because you're going to be shoving this up your nose to get this olfactory, the way he explained it, right, was not like this. It was like we're going to be stimulating the olfactory sense. And this is part of the trauma healing thing. And so I like cut this plastic piece off the broom, and I'm like, well, I don't really have like running water right now. I can like rinse it off, but okay, that is so fucking dangerous to instruct somebody that you don't actually have the capacity to see if they have sterilized that object or not. And then instruct them to shove that up into their nose. You can't actually tell how far they're shoving that up their nose. What if that person sweeps cat shit off their floor? What if they sweep up litter with that broom? What if what if they didn't clean it off well enough and that breaks the blood to brain barrier? Now, this is even more disturbing because what the study was, which I'm going to explain exactly, like, I would have been doing this 500 to 1,000 times within a 6-month period. And for those who don't want to shove a broom bristle up their nose, you can get the sniffing powder that makes you sneeze. That's apparently a part of this. So I'm like really uncomfortable. I'm like laying on my back, and he's like having me, and I just couldn't, I couldn't sneeze because I couldn't shove it far enough up because I was freaked out because it was plastic, and the way I cut it was like sharp. And it was like, this isn't right. So, okay, for those of you who are just jumping on, probably go back and watch from the beginning, but this is a phone call that I received from somebody who was claiming to do a research study, which I do believe was an actual, targeting. And, okay, so I lay down and I'm trying to do this and I just like can't sneeze. And he's like, you know, we've never had anybody not be able to sneeze. So, you know, I think it's not working because it's plastic and you're too freaked out to shove it far enough up your nose. I'm like, yeah, you're right. So he's like, why don't you go get a blade of grass? Like, go get some grass from outside or some kind of a whatever. So I'm on the phone with this person and I'm in my front yard, sleep deprived, not having eaten, pulling grass out of the front yard. And like, I was just like, what am I doing right now? Like, and I said something to him like, this is really weird. Like, this is not what I thought my day was going to be like. And I just kind of laughed. And he was like, you're getting paid for this study. Just get the grass and go inside. And it was things like that. It was like moments like that where it was like very, I felt like very dominated. And so I get this fucking grass. Like, I can't even believe how far this whole thing went, you guys. So I get the grass, I'm laying down, and there's like 3 different exercises that he's walking me through. By the way, I just realized this. Part of the thing was like, you can't talk about this because this is a study that is being done that's not to the public yet. So you can't actually talk about this. Well, I didn't fucking sign shit. So here I am. So anyway, so I'm laying down. The first exercise was counting. So I'm counting, telling him, now tell me that this doesn't sound like some weird fucking fetish, you guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, imagine, okay? Just imagine. I know that there are some fucking weird fetishes out there, and I know that sneezing is one of them, because I know that there are people that get paid to fucking sneeze. People get paid to do all kinds of weird shit, you know, let alone going like 10, you know, and I'm like, Achoo! And you know, and so I do it on this side and I do it on this side. And then the next exercise, which was really, this is where I really started to feel like I was getting like fragmented, because he goes, okay, now I want you to imagine something bad that happened to you recently, something sad, something that has an emotional charge to it. So I'm like, okay, I'm thinking about that thing. And he goes, okay, now the logic that he was feeding me is, in this trauma release modality, you will literally just be able to sneeze your way out of, like, sneezing the, you know, this trauma out of your body, and then you'll be able to think about the event and there will be no activation or no charge to it. So he's like, okay, think about, you know, this person, and now see their face and imagine talking to them and telling them how you feel. And as you're doing that, I want you to count and and he kept saying this, don't let it go farther down, you know, don't pull back. You just have to keep going farther. Just keep going farther. Just little tiny movements up and down. Just keep going farther. So, you know, at one point I was like, I'm having a really hard time like keeping track of all this stuff. Like, you're asking me to like think about this sad thing, and then think about this guy's face, and then I'm shoving this thing on my nose, and then I'm counting for you, and then I'm like, it's just, and he's like, okay, just stop. Just relax. Just relax. Take your time. So he said that, but then simultaneously throughout the entire phone call, I felt like I was a bother to him. Like, I felt like I had to be quick. I had to just like do it, like make it happen. If this, which I don't believe it is, but let's just hypothetically say that this was a trauma healing technique. What, that causes trauma? Because I literally felt like I was traumatized after that. Okay, so then it gets worse. Trust me, it gets worse. So we do that. And then he goes, okay, so go onto YouTube and type in these letters and these numbers. So I didn't actually know that you could do this, but you can put a public video on YouTube that's only searchable by a number and numeric code. So like, unless you have that exact code, you can't find that video. And so he told me to type in this very specific code, and this this Asian woman's videos pop up, and it's her like belly from here to here, her belly button, and just like a little bit of stomach. And he's like, just click on any of the videos. Now you see how she's like upright, but she's like sneezing, like he's like, wait for the sneeze. And then I'm like, no, some of the videos only had like a couple views. One of them had like 450 views, which doesn't add up to him telling me that there were 6,000 participants in this study, unless they're showing them other videos that got views. Like, so he's like, okay, so you see how like the shot is, right? So this is what I need you to do. I need you to open up Photo Booth on your computer and turn the video on. Like, walks me through the steps, how to turn the video on. He's like, now zoom in, right? So it's just your belly right there. And then he starts walking me through this exercise where I'm doing the fucking thing. I'm shoving this blade of grass up my nose, which, by the way, at one point, my nose started bleeding. Oh, I wonder why. Probably because I was shoving a piece of frayed plastic up my nose, which cut it. And his response was, oh, that's totally normal. You just have high levels of cortisol. That's just the cortisol leaving your body. What? Can you imagine 500 to 1,000 times, 6 months, 3 times a day, which I didn't get to. I'm going to get to that. So you know how in the beginning, how I said once a day for 10 minutes, a little exercise? Yeah, that little exercise was going to be me posting 3 videos a day of me doing these 3 very specific exercises, zoomed in on my belly button, fucking achoo, 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 sneezing. That's not 10 minutes. That's 500 YouTube videos for $500 a month, simultaneously while you're shoving shit up your nose 500 to 1,000 times. What? So after the first video, right, and then he makes me create a separate Gmail account to connect this new YouTube channel to, that I can put all these videos on. And what he told me while he was doing the first exercise with me in the video was that he was recording my voice print, and that the videos, these 500 videos that would be uploaded over the course of 6 months, were all going to be ran through AI software, which would read my morphogenetic field and would read my aura and my energy imprint and all of this fucking crazy stuff. That was when I was like, wait, what? I mean, it's that was when I was like, what? And by the way, I was supposed to have a phone call with a friend. Like, I got totally swept up into this thing, and I missed the call with my friend, and like, so then he's like, okay, open up Photo Booth again. And I'm like, how many videos am I doing right now? I'm like, how long have we been on the phone for? Like, what is happening right now? And he goes, just two more videos. I was like, no, I can't do this. Like, I have to eat. Like, I didn't realize that I was going to be doing all of this right now. And he goes, oh, that's okay. Just upload the rest of the videos today. And then, continue with this exact protocol every day. And, the doctor will call you and we'll set up a little 5-minute call with you once a week. And I was like, okay, so I just want to make sure, is this research for the trauma modality, or is this the trauma modality? Like, would you be having clients like shoving, like doing what I did, like as a form of trauma release? Yes. Okay. No. I don't know anybody who's trauma informed that would think that would be an acceptable way to heal trauma. That doesn't even make sense. And even if there was some kind of fucking science behind it, that is not going to get traction. I don't even think it was real. So I get off the phone with this person, and like I said, I couldn't even fucking string a sentence together. I was just like, like I tried to call my friend. I was like, I don't know, dude. Like I just started bawling, and I was just like crying, and I'm like, I don't know what just happened. I'm so fucking confused. Like I feel like I was like gaslighting myself, because I'm like, am I just being paranoid? Like, you know, like the make sure that your belly button's exposed, and I'm like, maybe this is real, and I'm just like, I just know too much, and so I'm being paranoid. And then I talked to my friend who's a social worker, and she's like, that is not how that's done. Like, I don't even have, he called me from an unknown number. I don't have this person's number. I don't have this person's name. All I have is a fucking neura.edu.au, this Australian company, which, by the way, when I go to the website, I mean, they definitely are a research company, but it looks like their research is in spinal cord injuries. I don't know. So I had no information about this person. I felt like everything went so fast that like I just didn't even have my bearings, because why would I just agree to be in a study like not even knowing who this person is, or you know, not signing any paperwork, not seeing any legal documentation, not, you know, you don't start a study that's paid without having any of that stuff in place. So then I was like, okay, I like came out of it, and I deleted the YouTube video, and I deleted the account, and I said, okay, if this is legit, I will get a phone call. I will get a phone call from somebody saying, why aren't you uploading to the channel? I will get an email with some type of documentation to sign. I will get something. I will get a fucking follow-up. And I didn't. I never received an email from anyone about anything. I never heard back. I'm assuming that they knew that I had caught on, and that they managed. Like, but what's so crazy is it's like, why would somebody go to those lengths? Like, there were so many pieces of it that did seem so professional and so like, I don't know, dude. This person says, how did they convince you? Through fucking mind control, dude. Through fucking mind control. That's how. Through like basic psychology, through like, I don't know. Says, hang on, I want to go back up to what you were saying, because somebody left a really good comment. So it's something about black magic. It's like way up here though. Oh, I can't find it. Harvesting. Yeah, red sage holistic. That was absolutely, I have no other fucking explanation other than to say that that was a form of mind control. That was not legitimate. That was a form of harvesting. Why would they run by all your fucking biometrics through this AI software? Why would your belly button need to be, why would he keep talking about my chi? Why would there be like, you know, if the other things had been in place, I might think otherwise, but that's not what happened. That is not what happened. So I'm sharing this with you. So I don't know, dude, so that if you ever get a fucking phone call from someone saying any weird shit, find out who they are. Like, if this ever happens to me again, I know that I won't, like, I'm like aware now that this kind of thing can even happen. And to get as much information as possible, like, what's your number? What's your name? Who's your boss? Who do you work for? I want the citations of the study. I want contracts. I want, like, I obviously at this point don't want anything to do with anybody who's trying to get me to be in any kind of fucking phone study, but you get what I'm saying, okay? I think that was the whole story. If I missed something, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's pretty much it. yeah, my mom, when I talked to my mom about it, she's like, well, your name is out there, like your face is out there, you put yourself out there, so, you know, it wouldn't be hard for somebody to get information on you. Like, one of the things when I was like mapping out my belly button, he's like, oh yeah, like based on the shape of that, he's like, can I share this with you, because you're not technically a patient, you're a practitioner, so I have to ask because this is diagnostic. And I was like, sure. He's like, you're holding a lot of sadness in your body that you're not processing. And the thing is like, he's not wrong. Like, I do have sadness in my body that I'm processing, but it just felt very exploitative, and like that vulnerability was being preyed on. Anytime I would question something or have a hard time with something, I felt like I was very quickly redirected. I literally just went into a state of mind where I was doing whatever this person told me to do. And that is not normal. That is not normal for somebody who has the level of discernment that I have, who's done the amount of work on myself that I've done. So I'm just going to assume that this was an initiation for me to really, you know, clarify some things in my life. And there is probably a way that that got in. I have a friend who has a theory about it. Because when we open ourselves up to certain things, certain people, certain situations, and we choose that, knowing that it's not, I'm trying to be cryptic here because I don't want to say exactly what, I don't want to share that personal information, but when we engage with people that might not be, that may be hosting something and they don't know it, right? And that gets in through our own wounding, which we are responsible for making those choices. That can actually open us up for other kinds of dark attack. And I really have to believe that that's what happened, because I have no other explanation for it. Dylan said, I had this very subtle intuition last week to tell you to be mindful of what you are sharing so vulnerably online. Yeah, thank you. Wow. I know in the last video I just said I'm like crying. I mean, I'll never stop being vulnerable. I'll never stop sharing. But it is true that those of us who put ourselves out there in this way, you know, it may not come from the online necessarily. It may not come in the form of a comment, but it can come in the form of other weird, you know, whether it's in your dreams or like phone calls like this. So we do have to be really mindful that that's there without going into paranoia and fear, because I really thought that that's what I might have been doing. I'm like, dude, am I fucking like losing it? Am I just being paranoid right now? Right? Because it's easy to do that. It's easy to go, it's easy to do that. And to be honest, a lot of the people that I love, I'll say some of the people that I'm very close with that I love very much, because of how much they've been able to see and witness, there are times where I do feel like it's creeping into paranoia, where I do feel like it's not totally grounded in reality, and sometimes we can get really destabilized by that. So, you know, when I was seeking advice about what was going on and I was reaching out to people, I had a lot of different opinions from people about a lot of different things. And it's really important to always come back to yourself and your own discernment. Yeah, I've lately had a lot of people giving me a lot of advice, different advice about a lot of different things. And yeah, it's about coming back to yourself and what you think is right for you, because you're the one who would know. Ashley says, literally this just happened to me tonight, where I worry I'm having paranoia and not trusting. So, Kay says, I think by you sharing this helps out more people than you know. Oh. So, Phoebe just shared, I reposted one of her stories to my page, but Phoebe shared an amazing series of posts on her story the other day about this very thing, about the paranoia, and about how so much of wherever on this spectrum of spirituality, whether it's, wokeness or New Age or galactic communities that feel that they have come out of all of that, a lot of it, and I totally agree with what she's saying, a lot of it has this tendency to turn us against our own body, to turn us against the earth, to turn us against other people, to put us in a state of fear and paranoia. And that can become a form of psychosis. We can genuinely think that we are putting all these dots together. And, when people outside of, when the TikTok community was like, you're schizo, it's like, no, I'm not. We do have the potential to go there, though, if we put too many dots together that don't necessarily belong together. However, there are dots that you can put together that will seem psychotic to other people or will seem schizo to other people, and it's just because they're not able to put those dots together. So it's a really nuanced process of staying grounded while, staying grounded in the simplicity and returning to ourselves and not projecting these shadows outside of us, while also be discerning about the fact that there are all kinds of energies happening and all kinds of weird things going on, for sure. So, yeah. Ashley said that's what happens when you've been gaslit so much and coming out of an abusive relationship. Yeah. No, I know you didn't mean me. Yeah, well, the gaslighting can lead us to gaslight ourselves, to question our own reality. Yeah. Does anybody have any comments or anything else before I jump off here? I changed shirts, by the way, because when I had the yellow one on, I've been paying very close attention to colors and how they affect your skin and how different colors look good on different people. And when I had the yellow shirt on at this lighting with this, it was I looked like a really weird color. So anyways, all right. Well, if nobody has anything else to share, thank you guys for listening, for taking this in, and please be safe out there. I will be safe, thank you. You be safe too. All right. Have a good night, guys. Bye.